All right. Well, it's been a minute. I wanted to make a video here. It is Fox Body Mustang is the subject still. I'm working on this thing. I've just got it real close now where it'll run. And this 302. But I changed it from EFI to carburetor. It's an 87 speed density car, and there's not a lot you can do with speed density stuff. It's practically nothing. That's one reason I did it. And I know you can convert them over to mass air. I just like carburetors. I like Holley, I like double pumpers, and I like that instant, that seat of the pants, boom, it's on, power. Instant double pumper power is, and I guess you can get that out of a mass air. It's probably pretty good. But anyway, a lot of people want to know how to do this conversion. So you do have an issue with the fuel if you're going to do that, the fuel system. Let me tell you how I do it. Not everybody does it the same. There's a few different ways that works. The way I do it, I think, is a good way to do it. But you may not agree with me after you see what I do, but I think you will. All right, let me show you. Okay, so first thing I like to do is take the tank out. And this is not my first conversion on these cars. I've done a couple other ones. So you take this tank out, all right, and right here was the original pump and this little sock filter, which, yeah, I'd like to be able to use that sock, but I don't see how to do that now. But it's okay. You're going to run a fuel filter. So right here is the length that it was, right about there. And so I marked it. That yellow right here is the length, and it's all the way up on the hose on the metal line. So it's where it needs to be, and that's the length. So you cut it with this razor blade, and then you can discard this. You don't need it anymore. Done with that. That's your length, and you just put it right back in here again. Lower it down in this side of the tank. You see how it's big. It's made for that. They did it that way because of the length of that fuel pump and all. What I want to do is unplug it so there's no power, because you're not going to use that anymore. All you're needing is a way to get fuel up out of the tank. That's all this becomes. That's it. Take this bracket off, and it's part of it. Got those four screws right there. You're not going to need that. That all went with this, but you don't need it now. So this other one here is a fuel return. I don't know what this little thing is doing. I believe this is all factory. I don't know why that's there, but this line is your fuel. If you want to do a fuel return, you can do that using your regulator. There's a available port where you can use a regulator to make your bypass, your return back to the tank. But I don't want to confuse you with that. I may or may not do it that way. I mean, a lot of the old cars never had return lines. Going back to carburetor, you may not necessarily need it either. I mean, a lot of them didn't from the factory. And then over here, I'm going to put a new sending unit in it. There's only one plug for this. This is the power to the pump and the sending unit, so you have to plug that in. But you can leave this unplugged. This went to the pump, and I'm not going to plug that back in like I said a minute ago. I'm going to tape this up with electrical tape and secure it in such a way that it won't get itself in trouble rubbing on something, and because it'll still be live. I mean, I guess you could go back in this here, and somewhere you're going to have to cut it, but I don't want to mess this plug up. I don't want to get in there and screw with that too much and then lose my fuel gauge screwing with it. I can tape it up very nicely, and it won't cause any more trouble. It'll be fine. So this won't have any power, but that is your length, and just set it back down in the tank. And you'll have to, I'm going to use this Holley red pump right here, okay? And there's the regulator. You don't have to run a regulator if you use the red pump. I think the red pump's 7 pounds is all it's able to produce, 7 pounds of fuel pressure, but I like to run around 5.5 or 6, and the regulator will allow me to do that. If you're going to use a return line, you've got 3 ports, so 2 of them is going to be already mandatory in and out, of course, but you got a third one, and you can use for the fuel back to the tank if you want to use that. That's where you would do that at. Put a fitting right there and attach it, and make sure it's all goes back here to this, all your your line, your outlet and your inlet back to the tank. Is how that works, and but you don't have to do that. So I'm just going to use a toggle switch, probably about a 25 amp. It'll be fine. It's going to draw, and you'll want to make sure you don't put too small of a toggle switch. You don't want 10 or anything. You want 25, 30 amp toggle switch with a fuse. I do recommend doing that. Just put it in the car somewhere where you can get to it and it's not in your way. Do a good job wiring everything up. Keep your wires off of anything that's going to pinch, or it's going to rub, and anything where you can see a problem. You just don't want that. That's because that switch has always got power to it, and so that way you can turn your pump on and off. You need to do that. So need to be able to do that. But that's basically all you do. Some people have actually used the same factory pump, which is what I did a long time ago, and they regulated the pressure down from 55, I think it was. For fuel injection, the pressure is always high when you're running injectors. They require a lot of fuel pressure, so that little pump does produce quite a bit of pressure. But if you're going to go to carburetor using that pump, then you have to have a regulator, and you got to turn it way back to like 5-6 pounds, and that will work. But I don't recommend doing that. I don't want to. That's why you got to take the tank out and take your pump out. It's not a big deal. It's a little bit of work, but it's not that bad. So if you do it that way, you have to go under the driver's seat, is where the fuel shut off, on and off. Fuel injected cars don't run constant fuel pressure. They're on and off as the pressure is needed. The car senses that from the factory, and it turns the fuel back on when it needs to. Under the seat, you can make it where it's hardwired solid, and you can put a fuel toggle switch right there. I've done it that way on another Mustang, I remember, and turned it on and off under the seat. I had a little switch. I just did it right there, and it worked fine. But I just don't recommend doing that. It's not what I'm going to do this time. So there's a couple ways you can do it, and I guess I kind of explained the other way that would work. So anyway, that's the video. If you want to change your EFI Fox body to carburetor, that is how you deal with the fuel system. All right, please like, subscribe if you don't mind, and I'll keep you up to date with what else I got to do. There's more stuff here to do, but you can see I got this thing starting to look like something now. It's coming along. Yeah. So all right, people. I'll talk to you a little later. Thank you. Thanks for watching.